So hey guys, and welcome back to another Python tutorial. So in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you guys how to create a basic banking system, or like a little internet banking system using object-oriented programming, which we learned in the last video. So if you have no idea about what object-oriented programming is, I'm going to be linking a video in the description, so I'd recommend you go ahead and watch that first, because a lot of what we're about to do today is kind of practicing the beginners stuff on object-oriented programming. So we're going to be practicing what we learned about object-oriented programming in the last tutorial. That's what we're going to be practicing today, by creating sort of like a fake banking system. So without further ado, let's begin. So this banking system is going to have a few features. So in the previous tutorial we discussed parent classes, and we also discussed child classes. So a parent class is pretty much the class which will have like basic information, and then the child class will pretty much inherit all the information from the parent class. So our banking application is obviously going to have users on it. So the users are going to be the parent class, because we're going to inherit the details from our user class. So this might sound like gibberish right now, but it will make a lot of sense later. Our user class needs to hold details about a user, and it needs to have a function that shows all the details that we've stored about that user. Whereas the banking app, or the banking class, it will help us store details about account balance, so what the account balance is, and bear in mind each user will start from balance of 0. It will store details about the amount that's either being deposited, taken away, or withdrawn. And it will also allow for deposits, withdrawals, and another feature called view balance to actually view the balance. Perfect. So let's begin. I'm going to create a new file, and we call that banking app using OOP.py, because obviously we're coding in Python. So once you've got that done, let's open this in idle. And I'm gonna copy and paste these lines so that we know what we're working with here. Copy. And I'm gonna paste them up here. I'm gonna comment all of this out so that it doesn't get in the way of our code. Right. And then I'm gonna reduce the blank lines. So let's begin by creating our parent class, which is user. Let me get rid of this. So parent class user. In the last tutorial I showed you how to create this, so try and do it off your head, but if you can't, just follow my instructions. So type in class, and now it's going to be called user, and capital U because that's just the naming conventions we're going to be using. So class user, brackets, I'm not going to have any arguments here, and then you need to have a colon, press enter. Now if you remember in the last tutorial we had something called an initializer, which we're going to be adding right now. So def underscore init underscore, and then we need to have the brackets as well. Now in here we're going to have the arguments that we need from our user. So I want the user to have a name, because obviously each user is going to have a name. I want the user to have an age, I want them to have a gender, and let's just roll with that for now. So I'm going to have an age, gender, and name. So I'm going to put a colon in there, and then I'm going to say self. Okay, forgot to do it again, but obviously we need a self variable in there as well. So when we add a self variable, it kind of recognizes it as it's referring to the object itself. So anything that's assigned to self is pretty much assigned to the object. So we do self.name, so we're creating a new property on our object, equals name. Then we do self.age equals age, and self.gender equals gender. So now we've got 3 different properties assigned to our object. We know this because we're using the self, and whenever we use a dot anything on the self, it pretty much gets attached as a property or a function to, as a property or a method to this object, which can be created later. So right now it's just a class, which is why we're using self. So once we've done with that, I'm going to print all details. Actually, we don't need to do that. We're just going to be happy with this for now. We're also going to have, it says holds details about a user, so that bit's done in here. Okay, we can erase that off because that bit's complete. Now we have another bit that says has a function to show user details. So to do this, we simply create another function, so def, but it's going to be called a method because we're obviously creating it inside a class, which is going to be converted to an object. So it'll be something like def show user details. Let's just do show details actually. And then in here, I don't want any arguments. I'm just going to type in self. So when I type in self in here, this function pretty much has access to every property and every method that is assigned to this object. So that's what we're going to be needing. Going to do print user details. Let's just say personal details. That sounds right. Personal details. And then I'm going to do print blank line, I guess. Print name comma self.name, because remember we're referring to the name that's already attached to the object, so we need to use self. Age comma self.age and print gender comma self.gender. Right, so that sorts out our first challenge, which has a function to show user details, and that's our user class complete. Let's quickly run this program to see whether this all works. Run it. Hopefully we have no errors. Okay, so I'm just gonna see what we have going over here. So we have a new user, so I'm gonna create a new user, and I'm gonna assign it to a variable called Johan. So Johan equals user, which is the name of our class, open bracket, and it asks us for all the details that we asked in the initializer. My name is Johan, comma age is 21, comma gender is male. Close the bracket, press enter. Right, since there was no errors returned, we know that the object has been created successfully, and it has assigned a name, an age, and a gender to it, which has values which have been mentioned right here. Now we can go ahead and run the method that we got going in there. So Johan.show details, open close brackets because we don't need any arguments. And here we are. We have personal details, name Johan, age 21, and gender male. Cool. So the first part of our program is working perfectly. So this is our parent class completed. Just make a little comment up here saying parent class, because we're going to be inheriting this class into our child class, which is going to be the bank. So parent class. Now let's go ahead and program our child class. So hashtag child class. Now, just like we did for the other one, we're going to create a new class for this one too. So class bank. And now since we want to inherit all the details, inherit all the properties and the methods from our user class, we're going to have to mention the user class in the brackets. So user. That tells bank that we want to, the class called bank, that we want to pretty much inherit all the properties and methods from the user class. So once we've sorted that out, all I'm going to do is we're going to need to start an initializer, obviously, like always. So initializer, init, we need self. Now bear in mind, since we're using the properties from user, we also need to mention them in here, unfortunately. So type in name, age, gender, and anything additional that you'll be needing. So I'm also going to be needing, no, that's about it for this one. So we have self, name, age, and gender. So that's what we need to initialize. Now we're going to need to assign this to our object. So before we do that, obviously in the last tutorial we learned about a super function. So what the super function does is it avoids us having to write these lines of code right here. It does it for us. So we do something like super, open close brackets, dot, underscore init, and then we put the bracket, and then we type in here all the arguments. So we're going to type in name, age, and gender. Cool. So I'm going to run this quickly to see if it works. So let's create a new user. So Johan, equals bank. It's asking us for a name, so Johan, age, let's put that as 20, and male. Enter. Okay, no errors, so I'm going to check if that actually assigned. So Johan.name, Johan.age, 20, and Johan.gender, male. So perfect. All of this has basically, so it's pretty much inherited this user class into our bank class. So we don't need to use the user class anymore to access the pretty much functionality and data storage from our user class, so we can pretty much just access it using our bank class. So that's why it's a child class, because it inherits everything from here into here. That's basically what inheritance is. So that's our first bit done. Now we need to sort out stores details about the account balance. Okay, so that's another thing that we need to assign to self. So we do something like self.balance equals 0. So as discussed before, each user is going to start with a balance of 0. So stores details about the account balance, that's sorted, which is going to be a 0 on start, and then we'll update it in the future. Now, what functions do we have? Stores details about the amount. Right. So that's going to be in a bit. I'm going to explain what that means. And it says allows for deposits, withdrawals, and to view the balance. Let's do deposits first. So def deposits. Then we need to put brackets, and in here I'm actually going to specify a argument. I need to know what amount the user wants to deposit, so I'm going to type in amount. So the user is going to have to enter a number in here, because we need to know what amount he wants to deposit into his bank account. Now we do a colon, and then we do something like self.balance equals self.balance plus amount. Now what this does is it takes the balance, which is 0, and then it updates the balance with whatever it is at the moment. So right now it's 0. If it was 100, it would say 100, and then add it to whatever amount is going to be passed through here. Now you might argue, why is this not assigned to the object? If you want to, you can. You could do self.amount in here equals I don't know, amount, and then you could have done self.amount in here. So that works as well, but it's just a longer way of doing it. So if you want to do it that way, feel free to do it. And then you can finally print account balance has been updated, and then we can print what the balance is. So self.balance. Right, so I'm going to put a pound sign here, and then that should sort that out. Now also we need to keep in mind that we have a withdraw function. So when we're doing the withdraw function, this is going to be a bit more complicated than just this. So this is pretty easy. We've done a deposit function. Let's see if it actually works. Run it. Now we will create a Johan equals bank Johan 20 and nil. Enter. Johan.deposit. Alright, it should have asked us for an amount, but oh well. 200 takes one positional argument, 2 are given. Right. So I think so. Just give me a second to check what's going on. I'm just going to check in my previous file that I've coded right here to see why it's not allowing. Okay. So I forgot to say that obviously, since we need the details from everything that's assigned to this object, we need to pass through self as well. Forgot to do that. So we need to pass through self first, because we need all the details from this, all the properties and all the methods from this object to be available to this method right here, and then also the amount that the user wants to deposit. So sorry about that, and let's do it again. So Johan equals bank Johan, 20, mil. Enter. Johan.deposit. Okay, now it says amount. So when it didn't say, I already knew there was something fishy. So 100. We're going to deposit 100 for now. And then it says account balance has been updated. 100. Now let's do Johan.deposit. Doing 400 for sure. And then you see it updates based on whatever's in the amount. It doesn't go to 0. Now when will this go to 0? It's going to go 0 when you actually exit the application, because all this data is stored in memory. It's not actually stored in a permanent database, it's just stored in temporary memory. So you can keep making deposits. So if I do another one, deposit file, let's make it 1000, so 500. And then it updates to 1000, my bad. And that's pretty much the deposit method completed. So let's get rid of deposits. Now for the withdrawals, it's a bit more tricky. So we do def withdraw. Remember, we need to pass through self, and then again we need to know the amount that is being withdrawn. So we need that as well. Now we go and assign our values. So self dot amount equals amount. I spelled it right? Yeah. And now we do self dot. Okay, now we need, before we move further on, we actually need to do a validation check. So we need to do if the self dot amount is greater than self dot balance, then we print insufficient funds, and then we're going to print the balance available. So balance available pound sign comma self dot balance. Right, so what this does is it checks whether the amount that you're trying to withdraw is greater than the balance that you have. Right, so and if it is, it's going to say insufficient funds, balance available, whatever balance is available. Else, oh, I've done a syntax error here. I'm just trying to get used to Python again because I was coding in JavaScript. So get rid of these brackets here. Otherwise you'll get a syntax error. My bad. And then print. Before printing, we need to update the balance. So we do self.balance equals self.balance take away self.amount. What this will do is update the balance and then take away, it will update the balance after taking away whatever amount you want to withdraw. Then we can print account balance has been updated. Oops. Pound sign comma self dot balance. Cool. That's that sorted. And now let's run this to see if it works actually. So Johan full screen equals bank. Oops. Johan 20 mil. Okay, I forgot the comma. Come on. Bank. Comma 20 comma. I had a feeling something was wrong, but oh well. Dot deposit. Let's go with £10. Oops, 10. Right, so account balance has been updated to 10. Now, let's say I wanted to withdraw and buy a sandwich or something. So well, let's withdraw £5 just for a meal deal. Okay, account balance has been updated to 5 because remember we started off 0, then we deposit 10, which is 10 right here, then we withdraw 5, which is 5 right here, and now we're going to go ahead and try to, I don't know, buy a monitor or something from Amazon, which will cost me around, I don't know, £300 because I'm going to go for like a good one. Press enter and see what it says. Insufficient funds. And my balance available is only 5, so it's correct. Now if I try to withdraw the right amount, which is 5, my balance has been updated to 0, and I will obviously not be able to make any more withdrawals. So that was it for the withdrawals bit, and now finally the last bit, which is going to be def view balance, because we want to be able to view the balance at any point in time. So amount. For this one you actually do not need an amount because we're just viewing the balance, so we do something like print. Actually what we need to do is to view the balance, we're also going to be showing the user's personal details, so we're going to do self.show details first. Now this function is going to be run from our user class because it's inherited it from there, and then it's going to show the user all his or her details, and then it's also going to show him or her the account balance. I'm just going to copy this line right here to save time. Copy and paste. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and do another test. So Johan equals bank Johan comma 20 comma mil. Oops. Okay. Johan dot deposit, not deposit 1000. Okay, let's see. I just got paid probably. So 1000. We'll do Johan dot withdraw 900, maybe I'm paying rent. And then we have 100 left. Now let's go ahead and check the view balance. If you see right here, if I hold on after the dot for a bit of time, it shows me all my available properties and my methods, which is a good feature. Pretty much all the IDs or like editors will give you that. Run it, and I have personal details, name Johan, age 20, gender male, but it's not showing me the last line for some reason. What is that? Show details. Oh wait, my bad, I'm doing the wrong function. So Johan dot view balance more like. I almost like crashed myself there, thinking why is it not working? Johan dot view balance, and then we have account balance has been updated. Actually, we can just change that to account balance and then whatever amount there is. So I'm just going to change that real quick. Account balance, and that's about it. It should work when we run it. And that's it for today's tutorial, guys. I'm going to clear this off just in case you want to like screenshot or something, but I'm going to attach the code in the description just like always. Hope you guys have enjoyed and had an opportunity to learn something new or actually brush up on what you learned in the last tutorial. Hope you're starting to see the point of kind of using object-oriented programming, because it's really super easy to manage your code. Because if you wanted to edit something to do with the user, you know exactly where to go and do that. And then when you edit that in there, that's literally the one and only place you need to edit it in. You don't need to go back to your other classes which use user. You just need to do it in this one place. So inheritance is like the major thing I love about object-oriented programming. Obviously it has other advantages as well, but we're going to get into that in a different video if you guys want me to. So I'm going to call it off an end for this series about object-oriented programming, unless you guys would like me to make a bit more of an advanced version of this banking system using object-oriented programming, where the user is able to actually register himself and then log in, and then we store the data into like a temporary array pretty much. If not, I'm gonna show you guys how to create a simple kind of basic banking system using Tkinter, and the details that you store are actually going to be stored in some kind of storage, may it be an SQL database or like a text file. So that's going to be the next video, unless you guys mention that you want me to do another one of these but going a bit more advanced. Anyway guys, thank you for all the support you guys have been showing me. I'm really grateful for everything you guys have done for me. Anyway, please make sure to share my videos to as many people as you can, because my views are a bit down at the moment. I mean, you guys are smashing it with the views, but it will really help if you would share. Anyway, please make sure to subscribe, comment, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.